there is so much AI content that will be pumped out in the next few years that it will lose all value. We need to be using Claude. I'm sorry, it's just such a superior product.
I looked this morning, about 3.5% of the total volume goes through Claude. Why do you love it so much?
All of this will help you develop into a person who is worth listening to and worth watching.
Everyone in the creative industry has so much concern about losing their jobs. Do you think they're going to?
That is the only way to future-proof yourself against AI and at the same time leverage AI to benefit you. Because let me make this clear, it's not going anywhere.
If I was to give you my podcast today, 0 budget and a month to grow it using AI, what would you do? What if using AI is actually making your content worse? Today, we're joined by Marissa Kos, who is a leading voice in the world of AI. She saved founders up to 60 hours a week by creating agentic workflows that leverage the best parts of AI and turn them into a tool that can actually increase your reach, build a community, and help you connect with people in a way that's easier than ever before. And today we're talking about exactly how you can leverage this for your podcast as well. If you're someone who's tried to use one of these tools and it's hallucinated or given you completely untrue information or just filled the entire script with M dashes, Marissa's going to teach you how to actually make it sound and feel like an even better version of yourself. We talk about this in the podcast, but she actually uses a tool that only 3.5% of people in the entire world are using. And I think it is one of the secrets to absolute success. Now, it's launch week this week, so you don't just have Marissa's episode to tune into. You have an episode with Dane Walker, who's an incredible branding expert. You also have a Q&A episode where we're going to teach you how to convert people from Instagram follower to a podcast listener and grow your audience. And if you're not already following the show, next week we have the most incredible podcasters on. They have built an audience so deeply connected with them that people have actually gone and got a tattoo of the podcast, and they've both created enough revenue from their podcast they could quit their full-time job and just do this all day, every day. So make sure you don't miss out on this one. If you guys have any thoughts or feedback, please reach out on Instagram, Alicia Chapman _ send me a DM, let me know, and let's get into today's episode. Marissa Kos, welcome to How Do I Podcast.
Thank you so much.
I'm so excited to have this conversation. We have literally been in each other's DMs for months.
So long.
And I think so many people think they know how to use AI and they think like, yeah, cool, like it's going to help me to do this and this and this. But in the world of podcasting, no one is even scratching the surface compared to what I have seen you do and what we're going to talk about today. So I'm so excited to get into it.
Excited. Thank you so much for having me.
The first question that we ask everyone to the podcast.
Yes.
What is the podcast that you always listen to, often gets found in your rotation, and why do you keep coming back to it?
This is really hard to narrow down because I've been across several. Like I've had a bit of a journey with my podcast content ingestion, but I will say Diary of the CEO I do end up coming back to time and time again. Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think the breadth and the variety of guests that he has on there really do draw me back in. I do expect to hear something interesting, and I think just being a founder is definitely something where you are the project more so than anything else. It is such a test of who you are as a person and what your capacity is. So in that, you naturally become more interested in how you are as a friend, as a child, as a partner, as, you know, all these different facets of you become really amplified because they're going to affect you and how you do business. So it all ends up feeding itself. And with that, I do feel that he has guests on that tackle, like I said, so many different areas that I'm like, I will learn something today, you know, that might make me think differently about how I operate. So, yeah.
I love that. And that really resonates with his ethos, right? Which is like becoming a better version of himself, which is what he started it for. Yep. So good to know that it is working. Always. Yes. Every time we talk about Diary of a CEO, someone says very similar to that.
Yeah. So he's nailing the mission statement.
So a lot of people who are listening to this podcast are going to be people who are building a personal brand. They're founders, they're CEOs, they're people who have a podcast already. Yep. Why is it important that they pay attention to AI?
Okay. Literally on any front. Basically, like I just said about Diary of the CEO, AI is applicable to all facets of life. And people don't really understand that. And like we were saying before, there has been no guide, no clarity. It's just been naturally sort of developing as an industry, and the industry is full of businesses. That's what I really want people to remember. There's AI as a concept, which is really fun to look into, and it's fascinating. And there is a little bit of basically because of novelty, and our brains love novelty, there's fear in that. Anything that's different creates fear. And there's a lot of fear mongering in the media, which really annoys me coming from a marketing background. Like, it annoys me to no end. But there's AI and then there's the businesses that are in the industry. And that's really important to remember, because in that's where you get the circulation of information that isn't necessarily always true. There's a lot of fear mongering. There's a lot of, pitting against each other. So that's where I want people to push all of that aside and just educate themselves, because it was exactly the same. I always use this as an example. The uptake of the internet, polarizing, catastrophic, all very hysterical. The same thing with smartphones when they came out, and social media piggybacked off of that because the smartphone became the vehicle for us to use social media. But if you look at the reception of smartphones, it was, again, hysterical, doomsday. The sky is always falling, and yet it's not, right? So what I want people to understand is your AI literacy is pivotal, just for you to understand how the world works. And also, if we use social media as an example, because it happened to us more so than us learning about it and adopting it wisely, it allowed those businesses to set up structures that weren't for our benefit as the consumers. If you know how to use AI, then there's a lot less mystery, and you can hold the businesses accountable that are pushing out these products. So it's really, really important. There's like I could get on a soapbox about that till Kingdom Come, but it's really important. I can't stress that enough, because it's very much like hide behind our finger, or we don't want to support them like we did with social media. Well, you're still on social media, number one, and giving them data every day. And in terms of AI, it's still the most reciprocal, like, electronic exchange I've ever had, certainly more beneficial to me than social media ever has been. So we need to be using it and understand how it works.
Yeah, and I think I have heard a lot of people in the space say that, if you're not leveraging it and your competitors are, what advantage, what edge are they getting because they are?
Correct. You either run the race or you don't. And if you're in business, you are running a race, whether you like it or not. And the truth is as well, the admin on our devices now is half the work of existing on there. So it's just very laborious to be on your computer trying to do your job, because you've got a million notifications. And if you can get AI to alleviate that, that means you've got time to focus on the aspects of your job that you really love, which is amazing. And it clears the mental load. As a creative co-collaborator, that's a different topic, and we'll dive more into that. But like, for founders, if you're not interested in alleviating the burden off of your team that is genuinely, it's admin and it's necessary, but it's not benefiting your business. If you're not interested in tackling that first, then you're out of touch with just the morale and the health of your team as well. So that's the place to start.
Yep. Yeah. Love it. Something that I've heard you say a few times as well is that AI should make you more human, not less. Tell me about that. How can it do that?
So again, getting us away from the screen is a great start, because they're so highly addictive. Like, if you look at the neurobiology of our screen time, it's become like an adult pacifier. We're on our laptop all day working. No, it has.
I love that.
So we're on our laptop all day working, and people don't realize how addictive stress is, because cortisol and adrenaline get released, and then adrenaline releases dopamine, and it's a whole thing. And, scientists can clarify that, chemists and biologists. I'm not going to get in the weeds on that, because it's not my area of expertise, but it's highly addictive. Now, when you are addicted to stress, it's a bit of a slow burn to realize it. We're all in that, and to some capacity, one way or the other, because our lives are just so fast paced and, again, so demanding. So we're in stimulus response mode all day, and then naturally coming out of that, we go into the screen for some rest, because it's easy rest, right? Now, that's super unhealthy. We need to stop doing that. And if you are leveraging AI, one, to take, like I said, all the boring admin off your plate, that's a big tick for just clearing that mental load, so you can come up for air and spend some time with friends, go touch some grass, literally do anything in the 3D world. That's a big way it's making us more human. But then furthermore than that, the fact that it's been trained on our data collectively, what we have to appreciate and accept is, to a large degree, while AI isn't human, it does understand us on a collective level. And we do want that. We want community. It's why we thrive on those parasocial relationships. We're kind of tricking our brain with social media to think we're being social. We're not. Yeah. So with that, you're getting access to so much collective knowledge that is literally how we've come to be. It's all storytelling, right? Up until this point, it's the most ancient tradition, and it's what incites something in us as people. So if you are able to tap into that and then start creating yourself with a collaborator that is always on, always ready, doesn't have the creative burnout that we experience, you can literally make anything you like, which is pretty amazing. Like that is, they say if you want to get woo-woo, that like creation is our sort of highest evolutionary point as a human being. Like it's the highest sort of, you know, they say authenticity is the highest vibrational frequency, but creation is like what makes us thrive basically as people, both energetically and mentally and psychologically. And it's, I've yet to see any evidence to suggest otherwise. So again, if you are using AI in a way that is actually working for you, you can totally become far more creative than you ever dreamed of being.
Okay. We're going to go straight into the juicy stuff. I'm so excited to hear your take on this. If I was to give you my podcast today, 0 budget and a month to grow it using AI, what would you do?
Oh my God, where to start? Okay. So the first thing I would do is I would train your LLM that you've been using every day as your sort of co-producer. And what I would do with that is I would load in everything that you've got planned for the podcast, all the branding, literally any context you can give it. I would load that in and then ask it, one, how do we scale this as quickly as possible? And then also I would say, I would definitely ask for any input, suggestions, something that's like radical or out of the box, because obviously now it is a far more populated space than it was before. So I'd start with that, but you can literally ask it anything, right? I would also then ask that particular chat thread to create me a prompt where I can feed the transcripts for the episode, pre-edit, and obviously then teach it over time, give it all the final transcripts, because it will learn what your best tone is. It will help you with like the cold intros. It's endless what you could do with your LLM. By the way, large language model is LLM, and that is, just to preface for everyone, because I realize I keep saying this, and that's ChatGPT, Claude, Google Gemini, Perplexity, whatever you happen to be using. And then I would definitely set you up on several tools that are going to help you with some fun stuff. So what I would do is I would suggest Descript is definitely the best.
So good.
Best video editor, because you've got the transcription editing base. So from that and it's got a bunch of AI tools built in. So you've got things as simple as shortening word gaps, remove outtakes. It even cuts up for you like vertical video content for social media distribution, and you can give it keywords so that you'd really like it to focus on in the edits, or you can just let it go and see what it comes up with. In saying that as well, you can cross-check that with your LLM. So you can grab the whole transcript in there and then say to it, I'm working with a transcription-based editor. Here's the transcript of the episode. What should I cut up for social media distribution, and what's the intro hook that's going to, increase our chance for virality, all of that. And so then I would also get you to look into Midjourney, because that is a fantastic image generator and it's become a lot easier to prompt. It's really responsive to natural language now. When it first came out, you had to speak Midjourney. Like it was a language. It was
very, very complex. And it was people had 3 heads. There was all sorts of stuff going on.
Yes. So I would get you into Midjourney and then again let you run free. You could use your LLM as a co-creator in terms of any visual assets that you'd like to iron out and build out for the podcast, and have an absolute ball in there. And then I would also set you up with a few tools that might help you logistically. So I learned this when I filmed the first episode for my podcast, and I lost like 20 minutes of audio.
Oh no.
And I could have just reshot it, but like the AI lunatic that I am, I went in to my tool shed that I've been building since 2023, and I actually found several tools that assisted me with this, one being an AI lip reader. which actually read, so I still had the footage, just lost the audio. So it went through and read all the footage, and I knew, because I had filmed it, I knew-ish what I was saying, but it was perfect because it wasn't perfect in terms of what it came up with. There were some things that it misinterpreted, but it was amazing because I could just go back, figure out exactly what I had said, so I knew which part I'd missed. And if I'd really wanted to, I ended up reshooting the whole thing anyway, but if I'd really wanted to just replace that 20 minutes, what I could do is I could then go to 11 Labs, which is an amazing voice duplicator, so that you can train it on your voice, and then I could have just put in the transcript of the audio that I lost. It would have then reset it in my voice, and you can generate several versions and play around with things. So if I'd wanted it to sound as much like my tone as possible, how I'd originally said it, I could play around with that and generate a few versions. And then I could, like I've done with the blonde bot, which has been another beast of its own, but if I wanted to, I could then feed Hey Jen a whole bunch of footage of me talking in the podcast before that, and it would have literally replicated me sitting there visually, and then I would have fed it the 11 Labs audio, and it would have replaced the 20 minutes of me talking with me talking as the AI mock-up, but you wouldn't have been able to tell the difference. It was pretty amazing. I gave all of this a go, and it was it's not perfect, but it was pretty bang on. Like for those 20 minutes, if I just put a disclaimer, bear with me, this is the AI replication of the 20 minutes of audio I lost. I could have easily put it into the episode. So let's say you've got a 2-minute issue, you could easily just use that and troubleshoot your sort of reshoots, particularly if you've got a guest that you can't get back in. So
I really like that you said adding that disclaimer, and it's something that we'll get into later, because I do think there is, there's so much that you can do with AI. Should you be doing it? Is the other question, especially in that creative space. And we're going to touch on that too. Yes. Going back to growing this podcast, you also have an incredible marketing brain and marketing background. You've created the podcast, you've leveraged all these tools. It saved you shitloads of time.
It's been
fantastic.
It's been insane.
How do you grow it then?
You need to be leveraging all the tools at your disposal, particularly your LLM, because the strategy of growing it is going to rely on you. And if marketing isn't your strong suit, then speak to your LLM about all the different strategies you can employ to grow it. And with that, there are always tools coming out in terms of distributing, repurposing content, but you've also got analytics tools and a ridiculous amount of distribution AI tools now that just make everything so much easier, because anything to do with getting content out there, as we know, is a very long-winded process.
Yes.
Right? It's very long-winded. So automating all of that is definitely going to be your best port of call to grow, because it's just pumping content out now. Everything's so oversaturated that you really have to make sure you're visible. So the quickest way to get yourself in front of as many eyeballs as possible with your good quality content. If you'd like to go viral for virality's sake, that's a different beast. And it's unfortunately not something that's going to yield longevity, but that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, and I think with AI and the things that are coming out now as well, something we're going to unpack in 2 seconds is what is a bot versus what is an agent, because that is so powerful to understand, to be able to know what you can actually get it to do. Because there's a difference between going to ChatGPT, opening it up and asking it to do something versus agents, which are just coming in now as we're recording this. For agents, we have leveraged, we have so much data, right? Like everybody in the world has so much information, so much data, so much visibility on platforms that you own now as well. So we've built agents that have gone and scraped all of our top performing content to understand what has performed the best, why has it performed the best. It's got that back end that understands exactly who we're trying to talk to, why we're trying to talk to them, and then you can go get it to go scrape your competitive stuff as well to understand what else is performing or what's searching, what's ranking. That is all stuff I had to pay a data analyst, and we did for a very long time, pay a data analyst a lot of money to go and find out every single week for us. And now I literally click a button. It's done in 3 minutes. It's insane. So let's talk about bot versus agent. What's the difference? How do you use them?
So that's the automation beast we haven't even gotten into. So I love this. So in terms of tools, you've got all of that at your disposal. And what I would even suggest with that, so the bot is your large language model. That's your hero tool, because even with that, I would ask it how you should build out your agent team before growing your podcast, right?
Yeah.
That's like the first port of call, because that will help you architect how to actually structure what you need automated, what can be taken off your hands. Then in terms of agents, like you said, the opportunity is pretty much endless, because you can have everything from a recursive content optimizer, which basically learns from your top performing content and then tells you how to then leverage that for when you create new content. So it becomes a replicable procedure, which is the dream in any business, any brand that you run, anything. You can also have things like even a news scraping agent. Cool. So the agents are basically, they are autonomous, they can act on their own, and they can have, mind you can build out workflows. So you can build out agentic workflows that have many agents that not only do their own tasks, where you give them a goal and they go and achieve that. So they aren't needing to talk back and forth to you. With the large language models, now they're building out things where they're connecting with your tech stack. So you can go delegate for them to take certain actions, but all in all, it's generating you content, right? Whether it's answers, whatever, it's generating something for you and giving you feedback. The agent is going and achieving a task. So that's the main difference. And the thing with the giving an agent a goal allows it not only to go and fulfill that goal, but it should, if you have coded it right and set it up correctly, it should be coming back to you with a recursive learning of, this is how to optimize that goal. So this is how we get there quicker or more effectively, or whatever the goal is that you've given it, it will sort of analyze that. And again, you should be talking with your LLM to be like, how do we optimize this? Or what should I be seeing the agent come back to me with? Because not everyone's got the same digital literacy and tech sort of nous to understand how the agent should be learning and performing. So you can lean on your LLM for that as well in auditing them. But basically they will go and they will achieve that task, and then one, that will be done for you. So yay, big tick. But when you build out more agentic workflows, the agents are also talking to each other. So if they are in a particular department where you might have them specifically for content creation, then ideally they're also learning from each other. They have a sort of manager agent that's delegating them tasks and then coming back to it with the goal, and then that delegator agent is basically able to communicate back to them how they've all learned off each other and how they can optimize. So it goes on and on. It's insane. It's insane. But yeah, you can really, in terms of podcasting, you can leverage that again for particularly researching guests. I know how laborious that can be. Again, the news. So if you've got a particular aspect of news that you'd like to be scraped every day, to be pulling out whatever's most relevant to you, and then talking to your content creation agents to be like, we should hop on this, because timely, content is everyone's like low hanging fruit. If you can hop onto something that's going on in the world and make it relevant to your brand, that's a big tick. And then that just means you've got literally a machine running for you, where you don't have to be worrying about going and doing all of that manual, sort of cognitively draining work, and then just worry about creating.
Which you've said this, Gary Vee said this, everybody has said this, like AI in this world should be something that allows you to spend more time doing what you love. What's been the most surprising thing that you've been able to give to AI to do that you never thought you could?
Oh my God, that's a great question. Oh my God, the obvious. Hello, sorry. Well, AI is my co-host for the podcast. So yeah, so that's pretty out there. And I decided, because I am just such, by the way, we need to be using Claude. I'm sorry, it's just such a superior product to ChatGPT. It is.
That was the first thing you ever messaged me on Instagram.
Is that?
I was replying to something and I was like, it was something around ChatGPT, and I was like, the shit that is coming out of this thing at the moment, because it was hallucinating every single day. Everything was wrong. I asked it a question about someone to go and do some research for me on a guest, and it came back with things that because I luckily knew this person, were completely made up.
Yeah.
Everything about it was made up. Claude is only used, I looked this morning, as of this morning, it's about 3.5% of the total volume of activity goes through Claude. Why do you love it so much? Every time I listen to a podcast, I get so excited about all the things I've heard. I can't wait to implement them in my business. And then life happens and I don't do anything with it. And I don't want this podcast to be that for you. I want you to take action and actually be able to implement these things that you're learning today. So head to the show notes or send me the word debrief over on Instagram, and I'll send you all the key takeaways from today. Because the difference isn't what you know, it's what you do. Let's get back into the show.
it is a superior product on every front. It is more intelligent, genuinely. The answers that come out are so much better. By the way, everything I test, every tool I've mentioned, everything, nothing is paid. Like, all of my opinions are totally unvetted and completely like mine after a great deal of time and research going into them. So I audit everything and it's completely independent auditing. So reason why I like Claude so much is the intelligence is far superior. The way that they have set up their product, and I teach clients this when we tune their LLMs, is that it allows you a level of customization that's really, really intuitive to what you will need and understanding you in the long term. Both Sonnet and Opus have exceptional performance just in day-to-day tasks, but also really thinking about complex sort of top level things, as well as my dev team. They love Claude for coding. What I'm most impressed with as well is Anthropic is the only company, so Anthropic owns Claude. Yeah. It's the only company that signed the EU AI regulations. And Claude 4, when they initially released it, expressed some really strong moral stances on things, unprompted, which I really liked. So they were doing all the tests that they do on it, and it came back with some really, really strong morals and ethics that it stood by. So I really appreciated that. And I was like, okay, amazing. But yeah, I just find OpenAI, like they're pushing out with ChatGPT a product at such a fast pace, and their marketing is really over-promising and under-delivering because they want to obviously maintain their lead in the industry. But I even spoke to CEO the other day who has been talking about one of his businesses for yonks into ChatGPT, and it totally like hallucinated about even the business name. And I was just like, that wouldn't have happened if you were using Claude.
And is there anything that you know that you can do in ChatGPT that you can't do in Claude?
Yes. So you can do image generation, which is, because it is quite decent, it's something that if you don't want to pay for Midjourney and an LLM and you're just creating quick things, then by all means, if you need visual assets quick and on the go, ChatGPT is good for that. Mm-hmm. But if you are bothering with AI and you're leveraging that, like you can always set up a Midjourney subscription for a month and cancel. They're really great. Their customer service is fantastic. If you're bothering to learn AI and use AI, then use a good product. They're the same price. So it's a no-brainer to me. But Claude have overtaken the enterprise portion of the market. So more enterprises using Claude than OpenAI.
That is really interesting. And personally, like I have found, none of them have quite nailed the copywriting side of the world. None of them have done that yet. But Claude is probably 10 times better than anything I ever get out of ChatGPT, regardless of like all of my learning, all of my information, everything about our business and our clients, all of that has been put into ChatGPT. I'll give Claude no context and just go in there to see what's different. And it comes back with stuff that is more superior. So
it's just more sophisticated. It really is. It's more intelligent. So,
I mean, Claude, if you're listening,
that's what, does what it says on the tin. We're coming to you for artificial intelligence. Please give us that. So I feel Claude delivers. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go into what AI is not doing well and what people are doing incorrectly when they're using it as well, because everything that we're talking about today is quite advanced, right? And it does require, even if you go and make some of these things, if you put the wrong information into there, you're going to get really, really shitty responses. You're not going to get stuff that you can use, and it's not going to talk to the right type of person compared to what you could get. So let's firstly go into what people are doing incorrectly when they're opening up AI, particularly again in that podcasting space, content creation space. What are they doing wrong?
Okay, so the number one thing they're doing wrong is please personalize your content to a certain degree. It's very obvious now what AI is generating,
the
right?
M-dash.
The M-dash, which I used to use, mind you. So now I've got like M-dash
so many people say that. Yes.
Anyway, so that's cancelled. So anyway, you can really tell with AI. It's very clickbaity and it's regurgitating. Like anything, with content, things become dated because social media is a tactics-based space more so than it is a strategy-based space, particularly now. The strategy of building a brand will always serve you. It is a slower burn, but stronger flame. So I would really suggest that people focus on that. I would rather you forego slight virality in your text hook if it's cringy and very obviously AI slop, as they call it, and communicate your tone of voice. That is going to serve you longer term. You need people to resonate with you. People are obsessed with people. We just are. Again, AI is offering novelty, but even that's wearing out in terms of content. It was a big deal a year ago if AI had written a post on social media that was going to perform because people were sharing it and saying AI wrote this or AI created this. That is going to happen more and more. So that content is going to fall flat. And it really does. Like the band that came out that created that album that was all AI based a couple months ago.
Yes, I remember this. There's a lot of thoughts around that.
A lot of thoughts around that. And the thing is, it does feel soulless. Like you can tell. Will it get more sophisticated? Maybe. But our platforms, the way they're going to evolve, live streaming is going to become huge. And this is being said for a while, but now more than ever, I can honestly say that. So what I would suggest to podcasters is really honing your skill of being a communicator and an entertainer, if that's the way you're going, the route you're going down, because you are going to then be able to teach your AI your style, which is going to help you and assist you. Like I said, co-creator, co-collaborator, but it's certainly not going to replace you. The glasses that are coming in for the augmented reality, there will be people that will live stream all day on those. And that skill is going to be very different than the person who needs to be doing 16 retakes in their room for a 15-second or 30-second or 2-minute clip, right? And that's fine, but it's just the space will become very Darwinian. So hone your skills of being a communicator, an entertainer, a content creator, more so than leaning on AI to regurgitate slop.
Yes, I
On
love
every
this
front.
so much. Well, because you can tell so much. If you spend enough time in these systems, which we do, you can instantly see if something's been written by ChatGPT. Whether there's M dashes or not, there are little words, there's little nuances. And I think something that, where you can use it really well right now is when you're using it almost as like a brainstorming buddy.
Yes. Particularly the copywriting, like you said before, there is no AI that I have used that is emulating my copy, because the way, and I've written so much copy for clients in the past that it's one skill I'm very, very comfortable with, and it just simply cannot grab onto the nuance, the wit. There's so many things that I'm drawing from when I'm writing copy or when I'm talking that it can't replicate. What it can do is it can learn as best it can. And for example, if I say, I'm writing this, I would love you to help me when you get that block, give me 3 variations, I'm not sure on this sentence, or give me a skeleton. You can do all of that. I do that with my Substack. We'll pick a topic, I'll get the skeleton, and then I go in and I say from the title all the way through, do all the tweaks that I want. And at the end of the day, I have written it, and then I'll feed it back to it so it learns for next time, so we can get a little bit better. And just, again, removing that creative block, because being creative, you always, you have ebbs and flows. And so if you can have even a voice of reason to go, this option is better than this one. Sometimes I write 6 variations of a sentence, like, good God, right? And then I would just have to go away and come back to it. Whereas now I can give it to Claude, we can have a chat back and forth, and something Claude might say will spark me to perfect that or pick an option, because it is actually good and it's growing on me. So in any creative process, same theory. That's what I would suggest to people. Use it like that. It will never replace human creativity. It will have its own realm, but particularly the way social media is now, it will be pumped out at such magnitude, AI content, that it will lose all value. Yeah. So we've got to remember that and focus on honing your skills.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, we both have marketing backgrounds, right?
Yep.
And even we use it a lot at the moment. We'll go through an episode, we'll create the reels, because it's not better. The ones that we've created, even with all the prompts, even with the agents, they still don't perform better than the ones we create from scratch. But what we'll do is we'll go through and say, hey, this is what we're thinking. here's the transcript. Where are the other attention grabbing moments? Is there anything else we've missed? So using it to like, again, as that brainstorming buddy, I think works really well. Going back to live streaming, this is something that I think is so interesting for every industry, but particularly podcasting. Because again, with the rise of AI content, there is more content going to be out in the world than ever. You've just spoken about the fact if you can rewrite things, if you can remake them to sound like yourself, you're going to stand out easily because you don't look like every other piece of content there.
Correct.
Live streaming, what else do you think we're going to see off the back of that? Like live shopping is already a huge thing.
Okay. Augmented reality is really close by. Like I don't think people realize how close it is. I'm grateful for it because it will take us off of this rubbish look that we've got with the smartphone now, which has made us just so socially inept as well. It's so
and the
embarrassing.
hunchback.
It's the tech neck's got to go, right? It's got to go. I can only get so many remedial massages. I think that's the case for everyone, right? So tech neck's got to go. It will change a lot of things, but particularly in terms of social media, like I said, the selective pressure will be very different because the people that are able to just be online. Gordon Ramsay's a great example. That man is a content creator through and through for decades, whether the medium was TV, then going into the more YouTube longer form videos, and now TikTok. They're obsessed. Like Gen Z are obsessed with him because he is very consistent. He's built a brand and is an entertainer. He just understands how to effectively communicate whatever he's aiming to display. He just gets it. If you develop those skills, that is going to serve you because slapping on those glasses and having a life and being interesting, and this is the art of being human, which I have spoken about with AI and I speak about on my podcast, you really need to invest in yourself as a multifaceted human being, drawing back to Diary of a CEO. The more you invest in yourself and your experiences, the more you will develop your own internal culture. Like I always say, style is just your own personal culture, right? It's the same thing. What you experience, the adversity you face, all of that makes you the person that you are and allows you to move through the world in a way that has meaning. So if you can develop that and you put those glasses on, you're going to bring a lot more value to whichever audience is interested in tuning in than someone who has been sitting behind their phone. It's just as simple as that. And again, the less you're behind your phone and your computer, and if AI can help you alleviate the time you're in front of these devices and allow you to actually go and meet people in any capacity, whether it's business, whether it's social, whether it's family, speak to people, learn about people. It will always serve you. There's this whole research about being a good friend helps you solve your own problems. All of this will help you develop into a person who is worth listening to and worth watching. If you want to leverage it for that, again, it'll just make you a better person in general. Like your life will benefit you. But for those who are interested in building a brand and feel that they've got value to bring to the world, you've got to bring value to yourself first. So use AI and learn how to do that.
I love that. I love that so much. I think it's just so important. Again, that humanization is the biggest. Like if you pulled apart everything you said and you looked at the base foundation of that, it's being a human.
It is. It's all being it's being a human being.
Yeah.
Like it's something that it's so sad because it is, we're so lost on it, but that is the only way to future-proof yourself against AI and at the same time leverage AI to benefit you because it's not going, let me make this clear, it's not going anywhere. And I loathe that it's been framed as something that corporate owns and leverages to replace people. It's got nothing to do with that. If we bench warm this time though and don't play the game, then yes, that's a very real outcome. It will become a self-fulfilling prophecy if we don't move.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Take control of the situation.
Yes.
And talk to me then, this is a really great segue into, I feel like a lot of people have AI fatigue. I feel like a lot of people, and we've touched on this a couple of times, but they're just getting to the point where you see an M dash and your eye scroll straight past. I'm like, you have not put any thought, any care, any consideration into this. I'm not even going to like your content.
Disgusted. Yeah. So there's a lot with AI fatigue. There's AI fatigue of the content that's out there. There's AI fatigue in using it. There's just basically, again, looping back to what we said before of how it's been leveraged of these ridiculous, I've seen this thing of Silicon Valley introducing like this 90-hour work week and rubbish. Like I could not advise against that more. It's just absolutely not on. And it's delusional, quite frankly. And the media has framed it as something that corporate is weaponizing against its employees and a way that we're all going to be replaced in this and that. Like all the other tech breakthroughs, more jobs come out of them than the ones that they replace, number one. So you've got this fatigue that's really, it's quite deeply psychological. And it's also attributed to the burnout. Burnout happens when you feel like you're not making progress. Of course, it's a physical and mental thing over time. It's a condition, but it starts from the brain actually exerting effort and thinking you're not making progress. So the AI fatigue is an extension of people working their buns off, absolutely exhausted, so stressed since the pandemic. We've had literally between COVID and then cost of living and then the global stuff. And that plays out subconsciously and it does fatigue people. So when they've exerted all this effort into their jobs and they're being told that they're going to be replaced, they get very put off AI. Sentiments are negative. Again, based on everything that we've said, if you are using it right, you are loving it. Like, it just feels amazing to have something taken off your plate, particularly for busy people. One thing taken off their plate is just so enjoyable to the brain, let alone the actual workload that it can alleviate, and also just the tapping into the creativity. People are using it for like showing their kids, you know, whatever profession they'd like to be when they grow up. They generate an image of like the kid as a, you know, a astronaut or whatever their dreams are. Like, it can be used in such a positive way and such a human way. So we need to take corporate out of it to battle that fatigue, and people need to be leveraging it in their lives as human beings, and also just not using it right is so off-putting. We're all too busy. And the issue with tech is it can always glitch, even things that should work, you know what I mean? So that line between using something and being like, am I using it wrong or is it not working, can be very off-putting. So if you're getting a little bit of rubbish in your responses and you've tried and it's quicker for you to just belt out whatever you need to do, you're not going to try.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that. And that's why I've done the coaching, but there are methods that you can, you know, work through to learn more and up your AI literacy, but it's boots on the ground, persevere, get your head wrapped around how it works, basically.
And so when you're scrolling, and as we see more and more and more AI content as you're going through, that like ick that you feel, like how do we move past that?
Look, it's up to us how we incorporate our AI into our lives. If AI producing slop content is not enjoyable, then we're giving the algorithms the feedback that we don't like it. It's as simple as that. So in terms of that, if you don't want to see AI content, don't look at it. It's genuinely really simple. There are so many use cases that if it's not what you're there to be on social media for, to ingest, you are the consumer and you have the choice of that. Mark Zuckerberg's currently invested in a brain. It's got 1 billion data points to learn how video can become more addictive. It studies how our brains ingest video, which I'm just like, anything to overtake TikTok. Like, you're not going to, and it's fine. And like, focus on the metaverse. It's all good, right? But he's focusing on that. So again, if AI content isn't appealing, then feed that data to companies like Meta, because people will stop doing it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think people will naturally and organically, like the algorithm learns from you, right? If you're not engaging with it. But also this comes back to, if you're sick of AI content, like not all AI content is bad.
No.
Going back to people being scared about their jobs.
Yes.
We are in a creative industry. Podcasting is a creative industry. My team, like we have graphic designers, we have video editors. We will always incorporate AI in some way, shape or form.
Yes.
Because it makes us more efficient. It makes us do more of the things that we love.
Absolutely.
Like everyone in the creative industry has so much concern about losing their jobs.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you think they're going to?
No, I don't. Like I said, the amount of AI content that will be pumped out, when anything's en masse, it's cheap, right? It loses value. So there is so much AI content that will be pumped out in the next few years, and it will start to lose its novelty. So again, when something is soulless, we have again this biological reaction to something that looks human but isn't quite. It's like we think it's either dead or diseased, literally. It's really funny, but it's true. It's why it wigs people out. Even things with a blonde bot, some people, it's fascinating for them to see, and I get a lot of great feedback, but they also go, it creeps me out, which I laugh, right? And if I were relying on that solely in terms of the content I was putting out there, that would be a different thing. I would have my run, but the more AI content that is out there, the less appealing it becomes, the more we're fatigued. It's the same concept even with hooks. Like you can tell when a creator is using a very jarring hook from 3 years ago. We've seen it enough times. We don't care.
Scroll.
You just scroll. So AI is not immune to the same sort of neurological process we get from just being bored. So the more boring it is and the more of the soulless AI slop, as they call it, that's out there, the more your content, the more human it is going to cut through. In terms of creative industries, the same concept. I find where you can leverage AI depends what scale you're at. So if you're just starting out and you want to, like for example, just out of speed more than anything, I have a theme song for my podcast. It's kind of like, I love merging eras. I don't understand why as human beings we don't just cherry pick the things that worked from every era and build a better future. It's actually very simple. We know what works and know what doesn't work. So I wanted it to have this very like late 70s feel because I was brought up on like Saturday Night Fever, Grease, the whole box and dice, right? Everything actually Hollywood from the silver screen onwards. Like I've been completely immersed into pop culture. So I have a good grasp on the things that I like from different eras. And so with the theme song, just out of getting it quickly done, I used an AI tool called Udio, and 11 Labs has now got a music generator feature. Haven't played around with that yet to compare the two, but I certainly will be doing that in the next week. And I really like it, but I will ask a musician to create an optimized version and give it what it's missing because I feel like it's missing something. It captures the vibe, which is great. It does the job for now. So if you are looking at either speed or cost as an individual, not a corporation, then look into these tools, leverage what you can to build your brand. The brand is an essence of its own, right? It becomes its own entity. Build your brand with AI, but then in terms of making it the high quality evolved version that you want it to be, because we all have that vision when we start something, that's when you get people involved. That's the approach that is not only ethical, but that people will find is actually going to make them feel like there's value too in their brand. You know what you've done quickly with AI and slapped together, and you know what is really, really, it's got that soul, that creativity, that purpose that we all pursue when we make anything. So you can't replace that.
You can't. And it will always get better, but it never will have that essence, I think is the best way that you've described it as well. I think what it does really well, what you've just described there, is bridge the gap between creatives and non-creatives.
Yes.
Because I am not creative. I have a marketing, strategy, psychology background. So when I go to my team and I'm like, it just needs, I can't articulate my thoughts. Yeah. But now with AI, I can kind of like show them a version, like with our logo design for our new business. You know, I had it in my head. If I drew it on a piece of paper, it would have not looked like it. But if I described it and then like reiterated, and I wasn't going to do that with my graphic designer. She'd be with me for 3 days trying to get it out of my head, and it'd be such a waste
exhausted.
of her time.
Exactly.
She'd be like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm out.
Yeah.
But like I did that over a course of a few days, and I did not use that logo. That did not look anything like our final product, but it helped me get what was in my head out into the world.
Correct. That's the aim. That is the aim. Same with the logo for mine. It was AI inspired, but at the end of the day, the graphics girl fixed it. All of my logos have all been human made, you know, like I'm sorry. It's just at the end of the day, again, if you have any creativity in you, while you might not be the exact creative that has the skill to execute something, if you've got the vision, you can leverage AI to get you there. Then delegate accordingly.
Yeah. And have so much more context as well. If you build out a brand brief with it and then you give that to a designer, so much better as well. Correct. Okay. So if anyone wants to learn about all things AI, they can follow you on Instagram. We'll pop all of that in the show notes. If you were going to give someone as a podcaster wanting to grow their podcast, wanting to build a brand, one piece of final advice about AI, what would it be?
Treat AI as your collective knowledge hub because your brain can only retain so much at one time. Treat it like that, but you have to bring the essence to your podcast. You are the chief essence officer. You're the real CEO, but treat AI as your vehicle to get there.
Yes, I love that. That place where you store all of the goals, of the visions, everything it can draw on.
And it evolves over time. It's like treated as an ongoing library archive. knowledge, intellectual property storage. Treat it like that. Put every thought that you've got, because again, sometimes disk space full with the head. So that's fine. So treat it as your landing pad for every fantastic idea and watch it evolve and develop over time. And that's the great thing with AI. You can always ask it, like, tell me how far we've come, where we started, all of this. And it's all there for you, but you must bring the essence to your podcast. So that's the advice I would give.
Perfect. Fantastic advice. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. And we will see you and hear you very, very soon.
Thanks. Thanks heaps.